Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to the previous speaker, thank you. I know we're all looking forward to starting our weekends, but that's not going to happen yet. Mr. Speaker, I rise to oppose the further amendment, and I didn't intend to speak, especially multiple times in this debate, but when it comes to fiscal issues, especially tax issues, it really gets my goat. And I had to get up to say, this is like deja vu. We were just talking during the last amendment about the process and about studies and further studies. And here we are again when the minority party tries to seek to roll back a tax. We want to study that again. Why is it that whenever we want to raise taxes in this body, we never stop to do a study first on the fiscal impact of our state, of our districts, of our businesses, our taxpayers, our constituents? We never do the study first. But then when it comes time to perhaps possibly roll a tax back, God forbid, in Massachusetts, when we try to roll that tax back, we can't do it without a study. Some would maybe call me cynical, but that's how I see it.
Chair apologizes to the gentleman at the microphone. For what purpose, gentleman, rise?
Would my good friend, the gentleman from Westfield...
Does the gentleman yield?
Will yield for a question.
Absolutely.
Chair recognizes Mr. Wagner of Chicopee.
I'd like to ask the gentleman from Westfield why it is that each and every time we talk about reducing taxes, those who advocate for that never come forward with a list of those cuts that we might talk about, that we would have to make as an offset to the reduction in revenues. So could the gentleman please speak to that and perhaps offer up his list of specific cuts, because it would not be revenue neutral to suggest that we would cut taxes and not have to cut spending. So could the gentleman tell us where he and those who stand with him might cut spending?
Chair recognizes Mr. Humason of Westfield.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the gentleman, my friend from Chicopee. I think that's what we've been doing. Members of the minority party tonight, no less, have raised amendments that could save our state money. During the budget process, I remember, as do many of you, I'm sure, the fact that members of the minority party raised amendments and suggestions of where the Commonwealth could save some money. And let's face it, our budget is still, what, $26, $27 billion? That's a lot of money. And what we do here is to determine the priorities as representatives from every corner of this state, what the priorities of this body, as well as our colleagues in the Senate, have by way of spending that $26, $27 billion. I recognize that it's very, very difficult that when we talk about tax cuts and the members of the majority party talk about tax increases, there are faces, real people associated with those numbers. And with, in my case, the cuts, with your case, possibly the increases. And none of us want to cut government. But I think we also need to recognize that we have to live within our means. We can only ask so much of the working men and women in our districts. They have to live within their means as they sit at their kitchen tables and pay their bills, and we certainly have to do that. And so when it comes time to living within our means, it is up to us in this House and our friends in the Senate and even our friend in the corner office to determine what those priorities will be. And those debates are sometimes difficult, but when we actually get a chance to have them, I think it's very illuminating that we can talk about what those priorities are that we believe that all of us should be spending the state taxpayers' revenue on. Let me get back to the issue and then I'll sit down. And I apologize again for taking so much time, but I do get kind of charged up about this. You know, on July 31st, the night before this liquor tax was to go into effect, it was my birthday. I was looking forward to going to the movies or going and doing anything other than what I ended up doing, which was wine shopping. My wife, a very smart consumer and a smart taxpayer, said, honey, before this tax goes into effect, let's do some wine shopping. So we went to a store in Western Massachusetts, and I think we bought something like 25 bottles of wine. We bought Christmas presents, birthday presents. We bought presents going forward into the next year because Jen knew, my wife knew, that the tax was coming. And she wanted to save herself that measly little 6.25% or whatever it was. But she did. And that's tax revenue that the Commonwealth didn't get. Thank God it was still in Western Massachusetts. We didn't go to another state to buy it, but at least we spent the money there. And I'll say this, last Friday I went to the liquor store in Westfield to get a present for a friend of mine. It was his 50th birthday. I know Mark's a good drinking guy, and he likes a bottle of rum now and then. So I went to pay for my bottle of rum. And as I was standing at the checkout counter, I looked down and saw a row of petitions. And I said, oh, are these the petitions to roll back the alcohol sales tax or the repeal? And they said, yeah. And I said, okay, great, I'll sign it. And they said, wait, that one's for Southwick. I said, okay, I'll sign this one. No, I'm sorry, that's for Holyoke. I said, where's the one for Westfield? And they said, oh, hang on a second. And they leafed through about 9 sheets, all of Westfield, before they finally found a space where I could sign, because those petitions were full of names. I have no doubt that when those petitions are presented to the Commonwealth, we're going to have a question on the ballot. So, Mr. Speaker, and through you to our colleagues, I hope you will consider joining me in voting against this further amendment to study the bill.